My name is Don Ness. I'm the mayor of the city of Duluth. It's my hope that LGBT youth feel a sense of comfort to be who they are. I feel very hopeful for the future, but in the present there are always new issues to address and more progress to be gained. And the conversations and the sharing of perspectives, I think, is at the core of a growing sense of both acceptance as well as appreciation for our differences.
I am Anna Leffring, and I work for Lutheran Social Services, facilitating Together for Youth. I came out 10 years ago in Two Harbors, Minnesota. The first person that I came out to was actually the person that I had a crush on. And she was a really great support because growing up in a small town, I didn't know anyone that was GLBT or supportive of the GLBT community. In small town Two Harbors and in a small school, word travels very quickly. I started to get bullied, including I had things stolen from my locker, and then vandalized and put back, including my history book, where someone wrote on every single page things like, "You should die Dyke." Other pages just said, like, "Stop looking at me, you're disgusting." Together for Youth is a support group for GLBT youth, ages 14 to 21. Just provides a safe place for GLBT young people to go when sometimes those safe places don't exist.
I come together for youth because it's a nice community where I feel I can be myself.
I like being in the gay community. I'm learning a lot for being in this group and the events, and I wish that more people in Duluth could know about these events and come to it. Because if you don't feel comfortable for not being yourself and acting like you're someone else, then that's when you need to come out strong and gay.
My grandma is very supportive. She is one of the first ones that I told that I was gay, and she is very supportive of it, and she helped me with telling my parents, which they were supportive of it, so it wasn't really that much more difficult, but it was just hard for me to come up to them.
I am Trisha Newbarth. I'm the guidance counselor at Harbor City International School. I think no matter what student, we all have feelings, we all have emotions, and it's just that important to feel like you're part of something. If you need a hug, you need a hug. If you have an issue, it shouldn't matter whether you're LGBT or green or purple. You should feel welcome and you should be able to talk to somebody.
I'm Bill Gronseth. I'm the superintendent of the Duluth Public Schools. We strive to help every student feel safe and welcome in our schools. So whether that is GLBT students or students of color, students living in poverty, we do everything that we can to make sure that our policies allow students the freedoms to be who they are. I think the most important thing that we can do is make sure that they know that they can bring these issues to adults. In fact, we have stickers on some of our doors, safe place stickers, that students can come and know that they can share their issues and find support and help.
Alright, well, I'm Aiden and I'm 22. I'm a trans man. That's something that I've known about myself since I was a little kid. I was probably around 12 when I realized that I wasn't like everyone else, and That was right around when I was starting middle school. Which, terrible, terrible time to be realizing that you're different. It's definitely a target of bullying. Mostly verbal, but there was some physical. But that just kind of set up the thought process of I'm different, therefore people aren't going to like me. I'm not going to fit in. I'm just not going to be able to be around people. And I started self-harming. The first time I tried to kill myself, I was 13. And I tried 2 more times when I was 14. I came out to my mom when I was 15. Never actually came out to my dad, but she told him. So that was interesting. We didn't talk about it again. Remember that there are many ways to be human. It doesn't really matter what your friends are like. All that matters is that you're comfortable with who you are and that you're not afraid to be yourself.
I'm Becky Hoverston Mellum. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and I work with teenagers in a mental health setting. We frequently have LGBT youth, often kids who are exploring, struggling, questioning their sexual and perhaps gender identity. The world is still not totally accepting of kids who are considered different in any way. So to be able to learn how to tolerate and not only cope but survive and even thrive through some of those difficult situations, I think can be helped by the distress tolerance skills.
My name is Jim Amell. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Social Work at the University of Minnesota Duluth. Anytime that anyone is identifying as different can lead to a host of bullying, I think that in turn can lead to risk factors for other external behaviors, whether it be substance use and abuse. Unfortunately, what we know, even suicide is something that we know and I think is unfortunately associated with those who identify as LGBTQ. I would say family issues as well, and I would say that that is going to vary across families, certainly leading to family discord, family conflict. And what we also know is we see, and when I say we, I'm sort of speaking from the field of social work and even from the perspective of some empirical research, that we see LGBTQ youth who are part of runaway and homeless populations as well.
My name is Christopher LeBlanc Matamoros. I am a case manager here at Lifehouse, working primarily with employment services as well as housing services. I think there's a lot of different factors that go into the reason why the LGBT homeless youth population is on such a rise. There is some serious social stigma still to this day to identify as such. We're making some good steps. We're still not where we need to be in terms of how the community is talking and how the community is working with LGBT youth. And I think that's actually kind of dangerous road that we're starting to head down, is this very, very tangible and accessible and easy to understand and grab onto narrative. And that narrative that everybody's been really going after is this idea that, well, you know, these folks are being kicked out because their parents may not agree with what's happening, you know, that there's some discrepancies maybe in a religious facet that gets involved, that, you know, their parents no longer still want them to, you know, be in the house because of their religious affiliation, and so they're kind of kicked out. And the narrative is one of that explains if you should give them a safe place, and you just put them in an environment that's going to be more fostering towards that, more accepting towards that, more understanding of LGBTQ issues. I think the narrative explains, then they'll just skyrocket, then they'll just do absolutely amazing. And we are doing a disservice to those youth who are experiencing instances of couch hopping and homelessness and who do identify as LGBTQ if we just think that's the case, because more often than not there's a lot of deeper rooted issues that are going on beyond that.
My name's Kathy Herms and I work with Lutheran Social Service. We're seeing LGBTQ issues regularly in the media. We're seeing legislation surrounding LGBTQ issues passing in a favorable manner. We're seeing schools operating gay-straight alliances. We're seeing images of our culture, for better or worse, in greater amounts on television and in movies. But at the same time, and probably because we're seeing so much positive activity taking place relative to queer culture, there's also a lot of danger out there. And so at the same time that youth in particular and LGBTQ people generally are feeling that it's a bit safer to be more out, in many instances they're at a higher risk than previous decades where we'd have a tendency to stay more closeted. So yeah, it's an interesting time to be a kid.
My name is Jessica Olhoff, and I am the program manager of the LSS Crisis Nursery. What an ally means to me is supporting LGBTQ youth and adults, anyone, standing up for them, not accepting when other people make homophobic remarks, working to make life better for them, to make sure that we all have equal rights and opportunities, and not sitting on the sidelines quietly.
Hi, I'm Joanne Coffin-Langdon, and I am a professor at UMD in the Department of Education.
And I'm Cynthia Coffin-Langdon, and I am the campus minister for United Campus Ministry at UMD.
And we love each other. I think at UMD, LGBT issues are huge among students, and for me, for one, I always introduce myself as a queer professor, and I talk about my family and my children, because I think it's really important that students, all students, queer identified and straight students, allied students, hear that there are other people that are queer identified as faculty, staff, etc. at UMD.
And I think, being a campus minister at UMD, I often, from LGBT youth, get the question of where is it safe? Where is it safe for me to process who I am, the questions I have about my body, about what's going on with me, my identity, and my faith.
Supportive to all people, all the time.
And more than supportive, too. It's
Standing
advocating,
in the fire.
standing up for, being in solidarity, walking with, side by side, putting yourself in that person's shoes, standing up when it's hard to. Yeah. I think that it's really important for everybody, especially LGBT youth, to know that they are loved and accepted, but more than that, they're celebrated, and celebrated for who they are, wherever they're at on their journey of discovery of themselves and how they fit in, that God loves them just the way they are, and God made them to be that.
God made you just the way you are, and you
Yeah.
are perfect in God's eyes.
Right. Yep.
My name is Pastor Jeffrey Holter. Being a Lutheran pastor, I think that Luther did a good job of helping us to understand that the gift of God's grace isn't metered out just to the heterosexual population, but it is metered out to everybody. So where we need to be welcoming, and I think it's powerful for us to actually live that out, not just talk about it, but actually live that out. So living life in this grace of God, I think is a powerful way for us to do that, and a message that's sent to all people.
I'm Jace Carlson. I am 19 years old and I go to UMD. At around the end of my junior year, I started kind of just wondering what if I was a lesbian? What would happen? What would my family think? What would I do about my faith? I was Catholic. A lot of questions that kept on running through my head. Around the same time that I started thinking that I was gay was when I started listening to Brandi Carlile, who actually, I'm wearing a Brandi Carlile shirt right now. And listening to Brandi actually is what got me started playing guitar. I started listening to her playing guitar and thinking that I was gay at exactly the same time. And it was so therapeutic and so helpful. I don't think I would have had such a smooth coming out experience if I hadn't had that music to kind of carry me through it. And so it's just continued now. I think that education is key. I think educating parents and teachers and counselors and peers, if it starts early, and I guess for a lot of children it's not even starting education early, it's just stopping bigotry. Kids aren't automatically unaccepting. They don't automatically think that, there's something wrong with people. They just see that modeled in their culture and from their parents and their surroundings. And so I think that educating the public is definitely the biggest way to help in the long run.
I am Mary, and I am the mom. I'm married to Troy, and this is my daughter Natalie. She's 4 years old, and my son Michael, he is 6. God gave me these 2 kids, and I love them no matter what. And I love my husband no matter what.
You love us to pieces!
We love them to pieces. All children deserve a safe and supportive family, and they need to be loved unconditionally. Unconditional love is loving someone no matter what. And as my daughter said, loving them to pieces. But every person is different. They are different than the child next to them in class. And I'm different from my neighbor. And we all have to respect each other and know that the differences are okay. God tells us to love each other. And to love means that we have to respect each other too. I think a lot of times we don't know how to face this issue until it comes right into our life. And when you love someone and you've known them all along, and then it comes up that this is the case, you can't help but love them because they're still the same person.
I think the best way to bridge gay and straight communities is proximity. Just let's get together. Let's have events where we're all together. Let's be opening and welcoming to everyone and get to know each other. I think that's the first step in anything, is just let's get to know each other as human beings, and just once you know someone, it's hard to hate them.
I think being involved with queer youth and queer youth culture is part of that, being a role model wherever you go. But if you don't hang out with queer youth and you don't find them, you don't support the issues that they're supporting, you're not going to know. And it's a pretty small group, or maybe an invisible group. And so it's not something that's just going to be out there. You've got to find them. You've got to go where they are. You've got to say, hey, I'm here. Anything I can do for you, I got your back. Yep.
It's important to come out because it's a huge part of your identity. And when you have to hide something that is a part of you, it can tear you apart from the inside.
There's nothing more suffocating than the closets that we put ourselves in.
You may think that you're the only one at your school who is having these feelings, and you're definitely not. and you know, people will come out of the woodwork to help you if you really need them. You're not alone